Okay, hello and welcome to my second attempt at filming Scouching's 2022 draft recaps. I apologize for the delay getting this series out this year. I had a bunch of them shot and edited, and then I did a bunch of effects work to create templates and everything. And then I updated my video software, and through a technical mishap, ended up deleting all my projects. And I was out of town for the last little while because I was hoping to edit the videos while I was out of town. So we're just going to give it another go and start from scratch and do things a little differently and bring up the old screen record template. Just before we get into it, I put together the list of teams. It's random. So if your favorite team is last, I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. I put the names in a randomizer for a random list generator, and it came out this way. Today, we are going to be looking at the first team in this series of 32, and we're going to do the Dallas Stars to get started, which you can probably infer from the title of the video. Now, the Dallas Stars, I felt, did pretty well. Right off the bat, Leon Bichsel was a little bit of a surprise for me. I didn't expect them to draft him, considering some of the names that were on the board, especially because they love to go for these sort of full-send, high-skill guys. But Bichsel is kind of a nice alternative to the types of players they've been drafting over the last little while, and you do need players like Leon Bichsel in the NHL. And I think with Leon Bichsel, there's a lot of room to grow. I know there were some games where I saw him where he looked a lot more settled and comfortable, and the skill was a lot more apparent. Some other games, he was more reliant on his physical play, which still isn't quite there yet. You know, look, I've always been thinking of Leon Bichsel as, if you like guys like David Jiricek, guys like Leon Bichsel are not a bad consolation prize, and there might be some upside there with Bichsel. Beyond that, I mean, they went with a couple of other guys that are high skill, sort of typical Dallas Stars picks. Christian Kyrou at 50, right around where I had him ranked. I like Christian Kyrou. I didn't get the chance to track much of him this year, mostly because when I saw him a couple of times, I kind of knew what I was looking at. One of the more creative and dynamic offensive players available, I think. The thing with him is his skating ability is just not really there, and I think that kind of exposes him defensively, especially on rush scenarios. But he's a really good puck handler, really confident in the offensive zone, really good shooter. And in terms of the skill level, yes, he's one of the older guys for the draft, but you know what? I don't think Dallas really cares at 50th overall, and I thought he was a talented player when I saw him, so I think Dallas did well at 50 with Christian Kyrou. I was a little surprised to see George Fagaris go at 83. I've seen Fagaris play a little bit. The OJHL is a really tough league to evaluate, but you know, he is another one of these skilled defensemen. I think that there's a ways to go. He's one of these guys where I think you plant him in junior, or in college, I should say, for a few years, and maybe there's something there, but at 83, I probably would have looked in a different direction, but then again, I look at the rest of their draft class and go, yeah, if Matthew Semenoff was the guy they wanted at 83, I could see how that would be more acceptable. But also, and this will be a theme that I'll get ahead of now in this one, once you got past, I'd say 70th overall, 65th, 70th overall, there were no players where I was really pounding the table as like, how is this player still available? There was maybe one or two. And you know, there were reasons why those one or two kind of slipped further than here. So Fagaris at 83, like, if you like the skill and you want to go full send on the upside there, then I can see how there might be more of an offensive puck moving defenseman there. Gavin White, you know, again, I like Gavin White. I liked him a lot this year. I thought Avery Hayes might have been an overage guy on the Hamilton Bulldogs that I would have looked at. But Gavin White is a good hockey player, skilled offensive defenseman, you know, very much cut from the same cloth as Christian Kyrou, in a sense, just maybe a bit of a better skater and maybe not as, you know, aggressive and confident offensively, but I don't mind Gavin White at all. And at 147, Maxim Mayorov went. I'll defer to Josh Tesler here, who does a lot of goalie tracking and a lot of goalie watching. God bless him. And he likes Maxim Mayorov. He said of most of the goalies that are outside of North America, that's the one where he would probably zero in on. You know, he's moving programs to a better one this year. He's leaving Lada Togliatti. I like Maxim Mayorov at 147, but I mean, it's a goalie. You stash him in Russia for a while and see what happens. And the last pick they did was Matthew Seminoff. And, Matthew Seminoff is just a nice swing late. A lot of people were really hyping him up early in the year when he was scoring a ton of points. And every time I watched him, I just felt that he's a good auxiliary offensive player. He's not the biggest guy. He's not the heaviest guy. He's not the fastest, not the most skilled, but relatively smart, knows what to do with the puck. Hitting his targets was a bit of an issue in my tracking, but he's a physical player in terms of intensity level, and he sort of can work off of maybe some skilled guys in Dallas's lineup down the road, I think, pretty well if you set your sort of expectations low. And look, if you're picking 179th and you get anything, you've done well, and I feel like Seminoff could be a thing. So overall, I don't really have a ton of data that I want to share on these guys that can really sway my opinion. I would show that Christian Kyrou had a heck of a season in terms of my track data for a heck of a tracked season for my data when it comes to offensive generation. A 15 offensive threat for a defenseman is pretty wild with 9.7 individual dangerous shots per 60. But again, my sample was relatively limited, but I think I remember the first time I saw him play, his first shift, he stepped up from the blue line in the offensive zone and got 2 dangerous chances from just basically going to the net himself and going around the net and going for wraparounds and all that kind of stuff, which was a lot of fun to watch. So there's an interesting high upside swing there for Kyrou. Bichsel, I think he should play. He'll be a nice sort of alternate to the type of defenseman they've drafted recently, like Heiskanen and Thomas Harley. But they also drafted more of the same types of those guys, and then you've got Seminoff on the tail end. So for me, what we're going to do here to sum up things, we're going to give each team a score, and then we're just sort of going to order them. And I'm going to give the Dallas Stars a 2D, a really strong 2D. Look, you're not going to see a whole lot of glowing scores from me in the draft, but I think that there's some interesting upside picks for Dallas here. I think some of these guys maybe don't work out. I think you could have maybe swung a bit higher on a guy where Fagaris went, but that's kind of nitpicky. I'd say their draft was about average. I really think that with Bichsel's pick, you could have done a bit better. But if they really think that that's the type of player they need and that's what they want to do just for this season, and they really like Bichsel's upside, which I could technically see, I suppose, then you might end up with a decent defenseman there. So to get things started, a strong 2D for Dallas, and that'll be it for this one. The next one's going to be on Toronto, so stay tuned. If you're watching this as a regular old YouTube normie, we'll see you tomorrow for the Toronto Maple Leafs.